Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. All right, so I know this is an impromptu stream. I just put the window up for it, so I'm not really expecting a huge crowd in here. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to everybody that's in here already. All right. Immediately after this stream is going to take you guys into the C19 report stream window. All right. So stick around. You guys can hit the bell twice over there and you can smash the like button for that stream. And we're going to get into the C19 stream. I'm going to try to run through this stuff as fast as I possibly can. All right. So make sure you guys smash that like button. All right. Also, make sure that you hit the bell if you're watching this and you're not subscribed. All right. And also, please share the video out to your social media. All right. So here's my question. All right. How many people are happy that Lori Lightfoot conceded? If you're happy, give me a thumbs up. If you're not happy, give me a thumbs down. If you don't care, go ahead and, let me know if you don't care. So here's my question. All right. Lori Lightfoot will not be the mayor of Chicago next term. Here's my question. Do we know who will be? Does anybody know who the other candidates are or what they're about? Also, another question is, does Mayor Lightfoot's voting pattern loss, her concession, does that say anything about the voting pattern in Chicago? Now, let me ask you guys a question. Do you all know about the voting pattern in Chicago? Do you know anything about the population trends in Chicago? Paul Vallis is one of them. Shout out to Katsy and shout out to Volvo to Love. Now, here's my question. What do you all know about Paul Vallis? That's the question. What do you know about Paul Vallis? We'll find out about Paul Vallis a little bit later. But first and foremost, we got to highlight one of my favorite politicians, Marjorie Taylor Greene, because she's crazy.
Let's go to the latest show of tolerance. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene says she was attacked at a
Did you guys know that the United States Congress is actually considering, because they believe that there's some COINTELPRO type stuff going on with conservatives, and conservatives have also said that COINTELPRO is fiction and that kind of thing isn't happening with Black people anymore, despite the fact that on Blacklight Revelations News Reviews and Reactions, we just talked about the government informant that infiltrated BLM in Colorado. That being said, also remember in California, conservatives are trying to make themselves a designated ethnicity minority group so they can get minority protection and protection under EEOC. Okay. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, let's just check if you guys can hear me. Give me a radiation emoji. If you guys are not able to hear me, give me a thumbs down. Okay, let me know.
This comes just 1 week after national divorce. And by the way, plenty of the media mob wasted no time attacking.
Shout out to my man Torian Rain. What's good with it? Real quick, guys, having difficulty hearing me. If you guys are having difficulty hearing me, give me a. If you guys can hear me okay, give me a thumbs up or a radiation emoji. And if you guys haven't smashed that like button already, make sure you guys smash that like button.
Attacking her with false accusations that she was talking about secession. Now, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene joins us with more. Congresswoman, welcome back.
Now, here's a question for you. That's wild because it's good on my end. So that's got to be YouTube, because StreamYards is working real good, and I got all 3 bars. You know what I'm saying? So how many people knew that there was talk of the South removing itself from the United States? Give me a thumbs down. And
my own incidents in the course of my career. It's not fun when it happened. When it happens, what happened?
Well, last night I was having dinner with 2 members of my staff. And we were preparing for committee hearings today. And then we were approached. A woman came over to my table, came and stood very close to me and started verbally attacking me, calling me all kinds of names. And then another member of her party started screaming, "F you, Marjorie," as loud as he possibly could, over and over and over again inside this restaurant. They have no respect for the.
So now here's my question. Is there a police report about this? Is there any security camera footage? Is there a police report? Have they shown any of inside of the restaurant live action footage of this actually happening? Now, here's my question. Do you guys believe her? If you guys believe her, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't believe her, give me a thumbs down. What do you guys think? Is this story true?
Restaurant, the staff, and the other people dining there. Here's what it is, Sean. You know, back when Hillary Clinton declared that we're all deplorables, they basically tried to claim that we're second-class citizens simply because we're conservative. And then Maxine.
That is absolutely not true. I'm sorry. Who in God's name even cares about conservatives enough to think, oh, these people are second-class citizens? You can't view a conservative just by, well, actually, you kind of can sometimes. You can kind of look at people and tell whether they're liberal and conservative, but nobody's checking for conservatives to say that they're second-class citizens or not second-class citizens. This is absolutely insane. Like literally, these people are trying to somehow create some type of transhumanism race for themselves. Like there's some kind of race of people, and they're not. And you're not oppressed. Cassie said the footage came out yesterday. I got to see this footage. I might make a little short video of it. That's wild.
Waters with her. Wherever you see them, you make a crowd and you surround them and you attack them. This was the dog whistle for all of the people on the left, Democrat voters everywhere, and fully support.
So now we got to remember also when they're talking about the left, that is a racial dog whistle. That is code for black people. And that's one of the reasons why any Twitter thread, or if you follow the Facebook post, or if you follow the comment section on YouTube far down enough, there will ultimately that happened in an isolated situation with white people fighting against other white people. Somehow it'll always degenerate into some type of anti-blackness. Now, here's my question for you guys. Why?
By the Democrat Party to attack Republicans in public, no matter what. There is no line they will not cross, and it is disrespectful. They are insane. They are crazy, and it needs to stop right now.
It happened to Sarah Huckabee Sanders. It happened to Senator Cruz. It happened to a lot of prominent conservatives in the country. I'm glad you're okay, Congresswoman. And, you know, honestly, we may be getting to the point where every elected official, especially in Congress, is going to need their own personal security guard. Because I think we have to protect every institution and every elected official.
Now, here's my question. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys think that your taxpayer dollars should be paying extra money for security for these politicians, regardless of whether it's a Democrat or whether it's a Republican? If you ask me, I think that that's a waste of taxpayer dollars. If you guys think that that's a waste of taxpayer dollars, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't think that it's a waste of taxpayer dollars, give me a thumbs down.
Regardless of what their politics are. So, on the issue of this national divorce, and it was obvious after I interviewed you that people do not understand what you're saying. So I want to get into more detail, which we got into in radio because we had more time. And you are not calling for secession in any way, shape, manner, or form. And I just even said that night, I said, I think the majority of Americans want us to be the United States of America. Let's talk specifically about what you mean. You're not talking.
So now I got some more questions for you guys. How many? And I got to agree with Cassie. They get paid enough. Let them pay for their own security. Facts. How is the stream doing? Are you guys, is the stream, the people who are having issues with the stream, is it any better? Are you guys able to hear me anymore, or is it skipping around? How is the quality of the stream? Torian and Cassie were saying that they were having a hard time. Lemon Lucas was saying that it's okay. Let me know. And I got to agree with Lemon Lucas and Cassie. They get paid enough to pay their own security. I don't really feel like paying, and I honestly don't care about a beef between the conservatives and Democrats at all whatsoever. You know what I'm saying?
About separate countries or secession. Is that
me, what I'm talking about? Everyone else just talked about me and assumed what I was saying and accused me of trying to start civil war, accusing me of secession and all kinds of things. What I'm talking about is reducing the size of our federal government and giving more power and control to our states to be the identity that they want to be, whether it's blue or red, because the division in our country has gotten to a dangerous point, to the point where I experience it on a daily basis.
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. And I honestly don't believe that Marjorie Taylor Greene experiences divisiveness. I'm sorry, I don't. You know what I'm saying? What's good with the KO Kid Fish? Shout out to Gullah Jack Tracks. Yeah, that's because I stopped it.
Being attacked in public is no fun, but we also have to remember it's not just elected members of Congress or famous, Republican spokesmen or political commentators like you and others, but it's also regular people, maybe people that wear a MAGA hat that have been attacked for years now. And we are fed up. We're fed up with Democrat policies. We're fed up with the woke ideology being shoved down our throat.
There we go. So we're tired of Black history being shoved down our throat. So there it is. She doesn't want to hear about it because it makes her feel bad. Black history really, really triggers these people. And you got to remember, when they're talking about woke, they are not talking about all of that other stuff that they claim to be talking about. They are talking about Black history. It's lagging. Man, what's crazy is that on my end, it's literally showing like everything is fine. That's wild. I got all 3 reception bars. Everything is all good. If it's lagging for you guys, give me a thumbs up. If it's not, give me a thumbs down. Let me know. I don't know why it's doing that. That's crazy. It's got to be either StreamYards or YouTube because everything is looking perfect on my end.
And we're tired of our children being brainwashed into these same ideas. We want our own safe space, and we deserve it. And the federal government is so out of control to get that entity back in and truly let the states have the power and control that they deserve.
You're talking about reducing the size power of the federal government. Give federalism is a good thing. What would you say about cases like we see counties in Oregon wanting to join Idaho? We see Buckhead. I used to live in Georgia for 4 years, where you are. And Buckhead wants to separate, for example, from Atlanta, have their own police department, their own government. So you have these examples where people want to join up with another state or another county or another town. Should they have the right to do that?
Absolutely. Don't we believe in freedom in America? Isn't that what America is all about? It's the people and their choices and the freedom to do so. I'm a huge supporter of Buckhead City. You know, Buckhead is a victim of the crime in Atlanta, just like the crime in Chicago. And let me tell you something about Atlanta. Atlanta has a higher murder rate now than Chicago. And look at what's happening to Mayor Lori Lightfoot. She is being kicked out of being the mayor of Chicago. And hopefully they finish the job because she doesn't deserve that position. She ruined that city with crime. And Buckhead is fed up with it.
I'm hoping she gets her ass kicked tonight and loses. I really am. Sorry, I'm just being honest.
Me too.
Let me ask you this. I think this is really important. I don't see middle ground. For example, if you want to defund and dismantle the police and you want no bail, how do you reconcile that with the rest of us that believe in law and order and safety and security as a...
Wouldn't dismantling the police be a smaller sized government? So here's where the nonsense comes into play. They literally just sat here and talked about smaller government and they want to deregulate government, right? The police are definitely attached to the government. They are a government funded organization, a government funded entity that enforces laws, right? So now the question is, why is it that all of a sudden when it comes to this whole defunding or decreasing in the size of police, that's where they have the issue at? Well, because they need the police to do what? And shout out to Gary Lamont. Gary Lamont says the stream is sounding and looking great. Okay, that's what's good. That's what's good. I was worried for a minute.
Prerequisite to pursue happiness. How do you reconcile those that want open borders and those that want the laws enforced and secure borders? How do you reconcile energy independence and those that are willing to, like Joe Biden, import 3 million barrels of oil from Venezuela and make Venezuela rich again when we can be creating high-paying career jobs in America and it being good for our national security? How do you reconcile these major differences?
Well, just as you just stated, you know what? You can't reconcile those major differences because they do not come together. And that's how far apart we are today with the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. But you know what? Republican voters are sick and tired of it. Conservative Americans are fed up with it. There are so many.
Let me ask you guys, are Black Americans sick and tired of this nonsense? If you're a Black American and you're sick and tired of the American government and Republicans and Democrats, period, give me a thumbs up. If you're not, give me a thumbs down. I don't have any sympathy for any Republican or any sympathy for any Democrat.
Americans today that whether they vote or not, they are sick and tired of the political divide and the political pendulum that is swinging back and forth and destroying this country. It's time for us to have our own ideas and be protected in our own states. And that's why I'm calling for a reduction in the federal government, the power, the size, and the spending power that has made the American people fed up and disgusted.
Congresswoman, number one, we're glad you're safe.
So these people are more worried about Black history in Florida public schools than they are about all the money being spent in Ukraine. Very hypocritical. Shout out to my man, James Hudson. What's good with it, bro? Yeah, we've been tired. Facts, Torian. I don't like when shout out to Torian Rain. When I hear nonsense like this and the whining, I feel nothing. You know what I'm saying? This is what everybody's been waiting for. Lightfoot is gone. Lightfoot was ousted. Okay. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is projected to lose her bid for re-election, a stunning blow to an incumbent who made headlines as an underdog reformer candidate who defied expectations and won the city's top job in 2019. She's the only incumbent mayor to lose in history, if I'm not mistaken. Were you guys aware of that? She's the only incumbent mayor to ever lose in history. Lightfoot on Tuesday failed to be one of the top 2 vote getters in a notch to notch a spot in the final round of voting in April, according to the Associated Press, making her the city's first mayor to lose re-election in 40 years. Now, here's my thing. I want to know from you guys, why do you think that happened? And what is that a sign of? Who made Lori Lightfoot lose, other than besides certain things that she may or may not have done? Shout out to Val. What's up with it, Val? How did Lori Lightfoot lose? That's the question. And why did she lose? Somebody on Facebook says, I saw a post where some are regretting her leaving office. Now they're left with a white racist and a black man who only caters to Hispanics. Yeah. A runoff was expected given the unlikeliness that any one candidate would outright win at least half of the vote on Tuesday. Now, how many people have been watching TD Hip Hop Media's video coverage about Chicago? Now, my question is, what is the population trend in Chicago as far as racial composition? That's my question. What do you guys think? If you guys been watching TD Hip Hop Media, you should know what the racial concentration trend is in Chicago. But we'll get there eventually. Okay. Shout out to Kenyon Perry. What up? Welcome to the stream. Lightfoot said, Paul Vallis, former Chicago Public Schools CEO and Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson are projected to face each other in the April 4th runoff. So now here's my question. What do people know about Paul Vallis and Brandon Johnson? What do people know about them? Facebook user says, I watched a video by a YouTuber called Our World. I think you mean Your World, talking about Harvey. And he said she was going to do things for the black community, which is why she got backlash and bad press. I think that's part of it. And if I'm not mistaken, Your World, Harvey, is actually from Chicago, so he would know. Catsy says, is it trending more Hispanic? Yes, it is. And the black population has been shrinking. Lightfoot said during her concession speech on Tuesday evening that she called both Vallis and Johnson to congratulate them on making it into the runoff. Obviously, we didn't win the election today, but I stand here with my head held high, she told her supporters. Meanwhile, Vallis thanked his supporters. Now, here's my question. Who are Vallis's supporters? Who are Vallis's supporters? We talked about Vallis. They weren't very fond of him on the video that we reviewed. So now what I'm trying to figure out is, will Chicago be in a better situation or a worse situation with Lori Lightfoot out? And my question is, so people don't get misconstrued, how did she get voted out? Who put her out? That's the real question. Yeah, he's the business guy. Facts. Thank you, Chicago. Our campaign isn't over yet, and we will be spending the next 5 weeks talking to people of our city about the need to elect a leader who is transparent, accountable, collaborative, and who puts public safety at the top of our priorities. Public safety, he tweeted. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Do you think that with this guy in office, Chicago is going to be any safer for black people? If you guys think that with Velas in office and his concentration on public safety, that Chicago is going to be safer for black people, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't, then give me a thumbs down. Okay? Let me know what you guys think. Val says the business community supports the PC man. So what does that say about the voting trend? What does that say about the voting trend? Should people really be celebrating? Because did we kick Lori Lightfoot out, or did other people just outvote us and put their people in? That's the question that people should be asking. And that's the question that I want to know the answer to from you guys. Despite being an incumbent in the race, Lightfoot was largely seen as an underdog. Recent polling either placed her in a statistical tie or trailing with one of the following candidates: Vallis Johnson and Jesus Choi Garcia. These trends say something about the political power that black people have in Chicago. What is this saying about the political power that black people have in Chicago? Is it increasing or is it decreasing? The Chicago mayor's tenure has at times been colored by contentious relationships she's had with individual groups like the Chicago Teachers Union. Experts suggested ahead of the race that it wasn't clear what type of constituency would vote for Lightfoot ahead of the race, given some of the groups that backed her. Not only the city's white and progressive-leaning North Side lakefront cohort appeared less likely to endorse her again. So as you can see here, when it comes to what kind of constituency would vote for Lightfoot, black people aren't even considered in this at the beginning, which is interesting. I want you guys to see this paragraph again. Experts suggested ahead of the race that it wasn't clear what type of constituency would vote for Lightfoot ahead of the race, given some of the groups who had once backed her, including the city's white and progressive-leaning North Side lakefront cohort, appeared less likely to endorse her again. So knowing this right here, did black people voting behavior or did black people's voting patterns kick her out? Or did she get overran because we're being overran? And here's the question. If we're being overran, if a politician comes into office that we like, what's the probability of us being able to secure a spot for that position? Val Williams says black community power is decreasing. If you guys agree with Val, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. So now my question is, I'm curious as to what the focus is on in Chicago and how the focus is going on changing that trend, or if they're even addressing it at all. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't smashed that like button, please make sure you guys smash the like button. Also, if you all are enjoying the content or think that it's informational, please make sure that you hit the bell icon and subscribe. And also, please share the video out. Believe that you matter and believe that you can love who you want to love and do what you want to do and be who you want to be. You will not be defined by how you fall, she told supporters in a nod towards how she wanted politicos to remember her tenure. So it didn't have anything to do with black. It had to be love who you want to love. Which, I mean, I actually agree with that, but I don't understand what that has to do with your politics. I don't understand what that has to do with your black agenda. And clearly your black agenda wasn't to help the black people or the politicians there galvanize or maintain any kind of political power. This is why I don't think that people should really celebrate this yet, because despite the fact that Lori Lightfoot may not have been everybody's most popular candidate, the way that the votes were split says something about the composition of Chicago. And if you ask me, what it says about the composition of Chicago is that Chicago is slowly turning into a mini LA. Chicago is slowly turning into a mini Texas. Now, if Chicago turns into a mini LA or Chicago turns into a mini Texas, what's that going to do? And shout out to Reese Sanders. What's good with it, bro? So it's not so much the candidate that I'm looking at here. It's the voting trends and the people who are winning. A racist white man and a Latino agenda black man. Okay. So who would have voted for those people? Who and now Lori Lightfoot is out. And where did they send a bunch of migrants? So what's that going to do to the political power? So now here's an article from WBEZ Chicago. Paul Vallis and Brandon Johnson head to Chicago mayoral runoff. Okay. Former Chicago Schools CEO Paul Vallis and Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson advanced to an April runoff Tuesday in the 9-way Chicago mayoral contest, bringing a close to the historic and tumultuous reign of Lori Lightfoot. After falling far short in his first run for mayor in 2019, Vallis delivered a convincing thrashing of the one-term incumbent and ran up the score on Johnson and U.S. Representative Jesus Chewy. This is Chewy. This is who we talked about on Black Light Revelations news reviews and reactions. Chewy Garcia, with a centrist campaign that made the city's surging violence a signature issue. Now, he's a centrist, which means that he can move whichever direction on the political spectrum he needs to, depending on who he's talking to. What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about that? So now here it says, while no candidate reached the 50% threshold, Tuesday's outcome now means the April 4th runoff election will be an epic clash between two of Chicago's most powerful and politically active unions, the cops who back Vallis and Chicago's public school teachers who are behind Johnson. Let me ask you guys a question. What will it look like if the cop-backed candidate wins? Is that going to be a good thing or is that going to be a bad thing? Let me just tell you, I haven't been this happy since my son returned from Afghanistan, Vallis said to cheering supporters at his West Loop campaign party. And I want to thank you all, old friends and new, for joining this campaign. It's because of you that we are in the second round. In his victory speech, Vallis expressed support for abortion rights and gay marriage and made a dramatic pledge on crime. Public safety is the fundamental right of every American. It is a civil right, and it is the principal responsibility of the government. And we will have a safe Chicago, Vallis said. We will make Chicago the safest city in America. Now, I don't have a problem with living in a safe city, but I know what that means. What does that mean? Because that's a dog whistle. That basically means we're going to make sure that we keep tight surveillance and keep these black people that live here in line. That's what that means. That means stop and frisk type programs. That means more autonomy for police to move away from using policies. That means units like the Scorpion unit all throughout Chicago. That's what that means. So now here it says Johnson, meanwhile, didn't dwell on violence in his impassioned victory speech. instead of giving a nod to his fast and unlikely ride to the runoff that many didn't believe was likely just a few months ago when he began the campaign as a relatively political unknown. You know, a few months ago, they said they didn't know who I was. Well, if you didn't know, now you know, he yelled to a jubilant supporter jammed inside the West Garfield Park banquet hall. Johnson paid homage to his swath of labor support that injected rocket fuel into his candidacy, from the Chicago Teachers Union to the SEIU to a variety of other unions. Then he declared a between-the-eyes rhetorical broadside at Vallis, saying he failed in every school system in which he has worked and is a candidate cloaked in contradictions. Paul Vallis is somebody who is supported by the January 6th insurrectionists, he said, reporting to the Fraternal Order of Police President John Catanzara's past defense of the insurrection. The Fraternal Order of the Police Union is backing Vallis. This is what people, here's my question. How many people are cheering for that? So now here's my thing with the attitudes and the direction that the United States is moving in politically. Automatically, if you have any sort of dog whistle or anti-blackness on your platform, if you ask me, then it's highly likely that you will be the popular candidate. So I really see this guy just easily beating Johnson. I'd be shocked if Johnson won. And the businesses are going to be cheering for it. So you have the police, which Chicago has a lot of police. Law enforcement is an easy issue to win the hearts over of people that live in Democrat areas, because Democrat areas always have such bad crime. So he's got a couple aces in the hole. And not to mention, the national attitude is moving towards baseline anti-blackness. When we use law enforcement or quote unquote violent crime, despite the fact that there might not be violent crime, we know that that's a dog whistle. And this guy is definitely chilling with the dog whistle bunch. Shout out to Shatera. What's good with it, Shatera? So now here it says he switched parties when President Barack Obama became president of the United States. He went as far as to say he's more of a Republican than anything else. He says he fundamentally opposes abortion. These are direct quotes, Johnson said. But now the thing is that it doesn't matter, because if these people want to exert their power or their quote unquote Americanness in order to be able to further subjugate the people in Chicago, they're going to do that. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to do it using this guy as a vehicle. Both candidates gave glimpses of what promises to be for a vigorous and nasty contest between the two ideological polar opposites. Missing from that upcoming campaign is Chicago's first Black, female, and openly gay mayor. Okay, so why we have to go through all that is beyond me. Tuesday's vote was a stunning and humbling reversal for Lightfoot from 4 years ago, when she won every ward in her 2019 mayoral election, and the first time in 40 years an elected mayor in Chicago lost re-election. Obviously, we didn't win the election today, but I stand here with my head held high and a heart filled with gratitude, a somber Lightfoot said in delivering her concession speech, with her wife Amy at her side. Regardless of tonight's outcome, we fought the right fight and put this city on a better path, no doubt about it, she said in a speech interrupted by cries of "We love you" and "Thank you" from supporters. Now, as we all know in life, you don't always win every battle, but you never regret taking on the powerful and bringing in the light, she said. The Associated Press called it for Vallis's runoff berth less than an hour after polls closed, and for Johnson about an hour after that. With 98% of precincts reporting citywide in a low turnout election, Vallis had 34% of the vote, with Johnson at 26 and Lightfoot at 17. Chuy Garcia was in fourth place at 14%. So I want you guys to look at this. Vallis had 34% of the vote. Here's my question. Is that something that we should be celebrating? And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't smashed the like button yet, please make sure that you guys smash the like button. Also, if you guys haven't shared the video out or subscribed to the channel, please take a moment and do that. And also, remember, this video, when it's over, it'll take you right into the next video, which will be starting at about 9:55. So just hang tight. It'll take you right in there, and it'll start shortly after. Okay. So Vallis. Okay. Vallis is basically saying Chicago is a crime-ridden city. We're going to deal with Chicago in terms of dealing with the crime. 4 years ago, Vallis stumbled his way to 9th place finish in the 14-way mayoral election that Lightfoot won. That disappointing result followed his defeat in 2014 as Democratic Governor Pat Quinn's running mate in his 2002 loss in the Democratic gubernatorial primary. But this go-around, Vallis reinvented himself politically, emphasizing what happened to be one of Lori Lightfoot's Achilles' heels: crime. Since 2019, murders were up by almost 40% across the city, and robberies and theft jumped by double-digit percentage increases. Carjackings during the past 4 years increased by an alarming 139% during Lightfoot's term. Now, let me ask you guys something. Do you think that Vallis weaponized these statistics against Lori Lightfoot? If you think that Vallis weaponized these statistics against Lori Lightfoot, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't, give me a thumbs down. Now, here's another question. Knowing that the next candidates up would weaponize these kinds of trends and statistics against you, why didn't Lori Lightfoot attempt to utilize any methods to attempt to make it look like she was making an effort to do something about some of these statistics that her constituents may be worried about? That's the question. Now, I want to show you guys something. You'll be shocked when you see who was worried about crime. You'll be shocked. Maybe you won't be. Buoyed by an aggressive television advertising campaign, Vallis zeroed in on her failure to curb violent attacks throughout the city, mining an issue that came to define her 4 years on City Hall's 5th floor as much as her response to the pandemic and stabilization of city finances. He adopted the campaign slogan, "Public Safety First," vowed to fire police superintendent David Brown, criticized Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx, and pledged to hire more officers. Another Democrat that's going to increase the police. Just like Karen Bass. Just like Stacey Abrams. You guys see a trend here? If you guys see a trend here, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't see a trend, give me a thumbs down. You guys notice a trend? What's up with all these Democrats expanding the police? At Vallis's party at the West Loop venue, the City Hall, Bob Dylan's "Blowing in the Wind" and Bruce Springsteen's "Born in the USA" played over the speakers. Vallis' law and order message and promising increase to the number of police on the Chicago streets resonated with the supporters there. His message resonated with the supporters there. Let me ask you guys a question. Are people going to be cheering when Vallis wins? Who in here is going to cheer when Vallis becomes the mayor of Chicago? That's my question. That's what I want to know. So now here it says, I live up north in a bungalow district with relatively low crime, and it's getting closer to home every day. Keith Forshaw, 49, said, Paul has a plan with the police. I like his plan. I think that he can execute it. Vallis indeed capitalized on big turnouts in largely white Southwest and Northwest wards, home to large concentrations of city cops. So now, again, I have to keep asking this question. if it's not black people that directly got Lori Lightfoot out of office with the voting power and voting strategy, why should anybody cheer? We need to see exactly what the changes were that causes the events that took place. Did we muscle her out of office? Or did it just so happen that we just got overshadowed and the people that have political power happen to not want her in there next year? Which one happened? What's the reality? We can tell ourselves one thing, but what does the information say? The information says that we're outnumbered, outpowered, and are not a factor in this mayoral race anyway. And while all of that is going on, we're losing power as well as population numbers. So now why that would be a celebratory occasion is beyond me. You know what I'm saying? It's beyond me. As Vallis' campaign gained momentum, Lightfoot in recent weeks settled into the role of underdog despite her incumbency. She accused Vallis of being a shadow Republican, belittled his acceptance of the Chicago FOP endorsement, which she belittled his acceptance of the Chicago FOP, but in secret, all of his supporters are happy that he's supported by the FOP, and hit him for a series of likely racially questionable tweets. Yeah, I agree, Val. Shout out to Kelly. What's up with it, Kelly? Val says Democrats becoming law and order candidates. They'll have police support, and that's the end of police reform. Here's the thing, though, Val. Haven't the Democrats always been the law and order candidates? Democrats ran the biggest grift by pushing the defund the police thing, and people fell for it. The Democrats are the branch of the government that always increases government they always increase regulation and they increase the size of the government. The Democrats will never decrease any size of any oversight branch of the government ever. It's completely against their platform. It's just not what they do. You know what I'm saying? It's not what they do. But people fell for it. People bought it. And now Lori Lightfoot is coming back with the comeback. Well, you're friends with the police, and everybody's like, that's what we want. Surprise. Surprise, everybody turned on you. Surprise, there's no black people to vote for you. Surprise. You guys remember Dokes from Dexter? Surprise, motherfucker. Remember that? So now here it says Johnson ascended as the favored candidate of the Chicago Teachers Union, which helped to underwrite his political advertising. He has advocated for increased school funding, new investments in housing and mental health, and additional police reforms. And we don't know what his police reforms are. I haven't seen enough information to be able to say definitively what his police reforms are. But Lightfoot hit him in campaign advertising with claims that Johnson wanted to defund the police. So now Johnson is saying she's upset with, or Lightfoot hit him in the campaign advertising with claims that Johnson wanted to defund the police. So Lightfoot attacked Johnson for wanting to defund the police, and she also attacked Vallis for wanting to increase the police. So what that basically shows is that Lori Lightfoot's plan was to just do nothing. That's what's up, Kelly. Her plan was just to do nothing. But to supporters of Johnson, the candidate represents change that only someone raised in Chicago could make. At Johnson's West Side party, David Hernandez, a high school computer science teacher in the Little Village and a Chicago Teachers Union delegate, explained his support. Brandon is better for so many reasons, Hernandez says. I like his phrasing, investor in chief. I think that's what his campaign is all about, making sure that we deal with the root cause issues. And I think that's what caused a surge in polling. People that live and reside in Chicago can relate to that. For Lightfoot, suffering the same defeat in the polls that Jane Byrne did a generation ago may be a particularly stinging result, but it wasn't entirely surprising. Lightfoot clashed with the city council. Now let's talk about that. Why did Lightfoot clash with the city council? And how many times have we talked about that? Lightfoot's clash with the city council should have been a predecessor for how the voting pattern is going to change. And I don't think people were really paying too much attention because everybody was just so focused on roasting Lori Lightfoot instead of looking at the analytical standpoints and how the environment was changing. Because roasting is fun, you know what I'm saying, until the person that is the mayor is just bringing in police from all over the place and people are getting killed left and right by the police. You know what I'm saying? The police Lightfoot clashed with the city council, the police union, and the CTU through the entirety of her term, prompting the union to front its own candidate in Johnson to run against her. Lightfoot went into the election with lagging support from voters whom polls showed were dissatisfied with her leadership. Now, what do you think those polls look like as far as racial composition? Because the reason why I'm asking that is because the population concentration of Chicago has changed. And what people should really be looking at this for is the voting trends, because the voting trends are what's indicative of either loss, gain, or sustenance of political power. And her frayed or distant relationship with other Democrats contributed to her struggles. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who captured 83% of the vote in Chicago during his successful reelection last fall, stayed out of the race. Turnout in Tuesday's election was just above 32%, lower than any city municipal election going back at least to 2011. So let me ask you guys a question. Why was the turnout so low? Yeah, I agree. Ghost. Ghost says, how could they? Right, Rob. It's too much simulation for some folks to even give a care. This is gonna do damage, like Your World said, looking like LA in 5 to 7 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. And Harvey has been going hard on this. But people just are like, this is the whole thing about putting analytical information and using information to make decisions ahead of emotions. People have been so riled up to just come up with the most creative roasts of Lori Lightfoot. They're concentrated on roasting Lori Lightfoot instead of the actual environment and what's going on in the environment. The environment is changing. You know what I'm saying? The environment is changing. And also, Lori Lightfoot was getting ganged up on by the majority Hispanic government the whole time. And instead of people concentrating on how the majority Hispanic government was ganging up on Lori Lightfoot, despite the fact that we know that Lori Lightfoot's not the best politician, and she's not a politician that's just out here just doing everything for, you know what I'm saying, making all this noise for black people. But at the same time, pay attention to who is ganging up on her and why they're ganging up on her. And Lori Lightfoot has done more for those communities than she did for us, and they still ganging up on her. People was more focused on making fun of her than they were about paying attention to how she's being attacked, because how she's being attacked is a proxy for how you're going to be attacked. Now the moment of truth is here. Chicago is going to change in unforeseeable and irreversible ways. Now, let me ask you guys a question. To compile on top of this particular issue, how do you think that the migrants being shipped to Chicago is going to change? And let me ask you guys another question. Now that Lori Lightfoot is gone, do you guys think that the migrant busing to Chicago will stop? Remember, they said that this guy is friends with the GOP. So if this guy is friends with the GOP isn't going to, they're not going to do that to him. They're going to send the rest of those immigrants to to New York or to other Democrat cities. It's a you scratch my back, I scratch your back type situation. So now things are going to automatically look a lot better because immediately once this guy who's friendly with the racists gets in office, they're going to stop sending the migrants there. Or they might send the migrants there, but they'll coagulate them in the Latino areas to help them further justify redistricting to further dilute the black population. But let's come up with all kind of creative names to call Lori Lightfoot because that's a W. Instead of looking at zoning maps. So we see how that worked out. Not something that I would advise in the future. You know what I'm saying? So let's actually take a look at this paragraph here on this page because it's getting kind of late and there's some other stuff that I want to show you guys. I want to show you guys the racial concentrations real quick. This is poll. This is from February 8th. Okay. Poll with Garcia, Vallis, and Lightfoot in dead heat in Chicago's mayor race. Okay. Now, how much video content did you guys see about this particular topic? Did you guys see a lot? Was a lot of people talking about this? Did you guys know about the other candidates? You guys know about the population matrix in Chicago? We're going to skip down here. All right, I'm gonna actually put this link for this in the chat so you guys can check it out. But I want to show you guys something here. Okay. Let me see. They had a racial breakdown. And I want to see if I can find it real quick. So while I'm doing that, if you guys haven't smashed that like button. Here we go. All right, right here. Garcia by far had the most support in the Hispanic community, with 56% of Latino voters saying they would support him. Black voters were split, with 26% supporting Wilson and Black voters were split, with 26% supporting Wilson and 25% supporting Lightfoot and 16% for supporting Johnson. So black people, instead of coagulating all of the votes behind one black candidate, they decided to split it in thirds. For white voters, 38% of those polled said that they'd vote for Vallis, as we'd expect, followed by 16% for Lightfoot, 14% for Johnson, and 10% for Garcia. Black people had their support split almost evenly across three candidates, whereas everybody else predominantly backed one. Here's this article. I want people to take a look at it. Shout out to my man, DJ Elmo. I appreciate you, Ghost Walker. All right, so here's the article if you guys want to look at it, okay? I'm putting it in the chat right here. But I think that that's important. Black voters were split, with 26% supporting Wilson, 25% supporting Lightfoot, and 16% in support of Johnson. If you know that your numbers are shrinking, that means that you have less votes available to compete with the other people. Knowing that your population is shrinking, why would you further split your vote across three candidates? Like, why would you do that? I want everybody to just like take a minute and marinate on that and ask, why would you do that? This is like one of the basic things that Dr. Claude Anderson talks about in Powernomics, on how to concentrate your power. And like the people in Chicago literally did the exact opposite of that. They literally made an effort to go vote to do the opposite of what Dr. Claude Anderson recommends people do. Like, as long as people, as long as people are aware of that. You know what I'm saying? So now, that being said, another article came out, and I don't know if this was foretelling the future, looking at future trends, or what, but it asked the question, does Chicago need a black consensus candidate? Most people need a black consensus candidate. The reason why this article asked this question is because they know that the people were split down threes, and they were probably scratching their heads saying, why are they not putting all of their vote behind one person if they want a chance to have this person in office? Because literally that's what anybody would ask. So let me ask you guys a question. When it came to Chicago, do you all feel that Chicago needed a black consensus candidate? I don't think it would have been a bad idea. Shout out to Chanel. Chanel says a lot of black folks tell me that their population is not shrinking. Do they have any explanation for the numbers of the population or the decrease in voting or any of that kind of stuff, or the majority of growing numbers of Hispanic people in city council and the calls for redistricting? What's their answer for that? Are people just choosing to not participate? Either one is bad. You know what I'm saying? So the discourse that once ran through Black Chicago for decades about unity around a black consensus candidate has waned. And as you can see, yeah, it clearly did wane. And they split it basically 33, 33, 33. And all of these guys are going to lose because it's just simple math. In 2011, a group of black movers and shakers flanked mayoral candidate Carol Mosley Braun at the Parkway Ballroom in Chicago's Bronzeville neighborhood. U.S. Representative Bobby Rush and Senators Maddie Hunter and Jacqueline Connors, Reverend Leon Finney, and historian Tamil Black sang her praises. Braun, the first black female U.S. senator, sought to beat Rahm Emanuel in his first run for mayor. She lost. But implicit on that Sunday afternoon gathering and in the race was that she was the black consensus candidate. So let me ask you guys a question. What is a black consensus candidate? We fall for the okie doke every time. Yeah. So then, you know, if that's going to happen and that's going to continue to happen, you got to ask yourself that question. Is the world correct? Chicago's looking pretty damn correct, I hate to say. And shout out to Chanel. Chanel says most of our people don't know what's going on in politics. And it shows. And everybody's aware. And everybody exploits that. And if you ask me, it's not a good look. You know what I'm saying? I think that people should take a conscious effort and work to actively change that. You know what I'm saying? That's what I think that people should do. Because now in Chicago, black people have been locked out, boxed out. See how that works? Block out, lockout. See how that works? And you know what they always say? Ignorance of the law is no excuse for breaking it. You know what I'm saying? So if there is a political system that people can try to utilize to get things that they want accomplished, and people make the conscious choice to not understand it, our politics look exactly the way that they should. The world is correct. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my man Torian Rain. My man Torian Rain says, shameless plug. Look to my Black Massacre series, new episode coming this evening, and see how they went at Black people for merely getting into politics with just wanting to vote at the bare minimum. Facts. Make sure you guys go check out Torian's channel, and also make sure that you go and check out that Black Massacre series. It's a great series. And I got to agree, RG Titan, as usual, the world is correct. Yeah. Here's my question. What outcome did people expect? What was the expected outcome? You know what I'm saying? That's my question. What kind of outcome do people expect? You know what I'm saying? So now here it says in 2018, when Emmanuel announced he wouldn't seek re-election, an intergenerational group gathered at Rainbow Push to extol the need to support a Black consensus candidate. But that didn't happen. The two Black women who would face off, Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle and Lori Lightfoot, got there without winning the Black vote. They got there without winning the Black vote for the first time around. Lightfoot will go on to win in a landslide. So they never had the Black vote. And at that point, they probably got confident and thought that they could continue to win without the Black vote. Yeah, I agree, Tori. In fact, a lot of the massacres in the 1800s came from politics. Harvey absolutely warned people. For people to say that they didn't know, you know what I'm saying? Man, Harvey has been going in on this particular topic, saying that, you know, like, you might not like Lori Lightfoot, but pay attention to the landscape and pay attention to the environment and pay attention to what's going on. Harvey Your World has been going in on this, literally trying to give people game. You know what I'm saying? At some point, you know what I'm saying? We got to start looking at the root issues of the problems for real, for real. You know what I'm saying? Contrast those scenes in to the one earlier this month in which 7 Black candidates running for mayor sparred on stage. At the forum, these candidates debated whose Blackness made them more in touch with the people to run for mayor. And it's not even the Black people there who are putting people into those positions, especially in this race, because the race was only 32% of active voters who came out to vote. And why are you like this? To me, you shouldn't be debating your quote unquote Blackness. You need to debate a Black agenda. An agenda. Like, if I be like, I'm blacker than you, I'm blacker than you, I'm blacker than you, I'm blacker than you, and then I get into office and all I do is make policies for migrants and Latinos, who cares who's blacker than who? You need to show the damn agenda. What is your Black agenda? You know what I mean? These people sitting up here talking about, nah, my mama made sweet potato pie. Nah, I eat grits and eggs. Nah, I make the best collard greens, man. Who gives a shit? Guess what? People that eat tamales got their candidate in. So the collard green and sweet potato shit and grits and eggs don't even matter now. Because now you're dealing with tacos and enchiladas. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is silly talk. This kind of shit where these motherfuckers is arguing about their quote unquote Blackness. This is the same stupid ass shit as Hillary Clinton pulling out hot sauce, or Kamala Harris talking about Tupac. Man, I don't care about none of that. I want to know about your Black agenda. Facts. Deneen says, I will vote for a white person with a Black agenda. Me too. If you have a legitimate plan where you plan to include and allow us to lead in agenda creation, and you simply use your political power to help make it happen, I'm showing some interest. If you present me with that versus you want to sit there and tell me all the songs you used to listen to back in the day, I could go on my own live stream and talk about that shit. What is that going to do for the agenda? What is that going to do for improving the situation? How is that going to help to close the racial wealth gap? What is your plan to attack any of that? They don't never have a plan. Symbolic. That's that symbolic shit. At the forum, the candidates debated whose blackness made them more in touch with people to run for mayor. And now you're up against a moderate who's backed by the police. Your argument about blackness will only be considered woke now in your new debate. So what do you actually have to offer? You can talk that black shit when there's a whole bunch of black people on the stage. But now that you're against this moderate, everyone's gonna shout you down and say that anything that you're saying is woke. So what kind of policies do you actually have to put on the table? And if you don't have none, it's a rizap. You know what I'm saying? Torian said none of them have a black agenda. Facts. Their black agenda usually involves us on the back burner while they're really doing something for others. Super facts. Which is one of the reasons why they can sit up there and argue about candy yams and sweet potato pie. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to hear about your candy yams and sweet potato pie. Like I said in my last stream, a wise black woman once told me not to eat everybody's greens anyway, so I don't give a shit about yours because I got people that can cook greens. I want to know what you're going to. I want to know what kind of policies you finna cook up. I don't care about what kind of food you finna cook up. I don't care what kind of Motown music you used to listen to. I don't care about none of that. I don't care if you want to have a little reminisce moment talking about Lester's pink lotion or sporting waves. I don't care about none of that. I don't want to have no debate with you over which do you use, a do-rag or a wave cap. That's insulting, and it has nothing to do with politics. Show me the money or I'll show you the door. You know what I'm saying? That's what people need to be on. So this whole black consensus candidate, this is that kind of thing that Dr. Claude Anderson was talking about. And let me see real quick. Hopefully I got enough characters to put this link in the chat. I'm gonna put this link in the chat so y'all can check this out. But that's basically putting the power behind one candidate. You know what I'm saying? Let me see. So if you're interested in looking at that black consensus candidate article and reading it in its entirety, I just put it into the chat. Yeah, Kamala Harris says she was taking collard greens through airport security. I'm sick of this stereotyping. What was you putting them? Would you had them in a crock pot or something? How you take some damn collard greens through an airport security? You can't even take food through the airport security. You know what I'm saying? Like, like it, and people listen to that nonsense and entertain that nonsense. Now, y'all want to know who it was in Chicago that was interested in the police and law enforcement? I'm about to show y'all real quick. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't smashed that like button, please make sure you guys take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell icon twice, please do me that favor and make sure you guys hit that bell icon twice.
A new nonpartisan poll from Northwestern University is digging into what issues are most important for Chicago's Black and Latino residents. The survey found
Black and Latino residents. So we'll never get a clear understanding of what the issues are because they continue to mix them with the Latino issues, which is one of the reasons why we have to start our own think tanks. We have to start our own super PACs. We have to generate our own information because the information that we get from the media is never accurate, because when you take our information and you mix it with other groups of people like Latino and LGBTQ, it becomes misconstrued and it doesn't allow you to target particular needs or particular disparities. You know what I'm saying?
that among Black voters, 54% say they'd like to see the next mayor reduce crime.
There you go. Did you hear that? That was 54% of Black voters. So now let me ask you guys a question. If 54% of Black voters said that they wanted to see the mayor reduce crimes, let me ask y'all a question. Which mayor did they vote for? Which mayor did they vote for? So a lot of these Black people are voting for Vallis because Vallis is the crime mayor. They definitely ain't voting for Lightfoot. And the other guy, crime wasn't his major issue on the polls. Yeah, they voting for Vallis. I want y'all to hear that again.
A new nonpartisan poll from Northwestern University is digging into what issues are most important for Chicago's Black and Latino residents. The survey found that among Black voters, 54% say they'd like to see the next mayor reduce crime. 42% cite the rising cost of living and inflation. 31% want reforms to hold police accountable. And on policy, that same
Man, only 31% of Black people, look at this, only 31% of Black people wanted police reform to hold police accountable. Only 31% of Black people wanted police reform to hold police accountable. I gotta agree with RG Titan. If you agree with RG Titan, give me a thumbs up. If you disagree, give me a thumbs down. They are voting more on emotion than anything. That's what, if you ask me, that's what this shows. I have to agree with RG Titan. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Policy, that same survey found 97% of Black voters surveyed support more funding for youth programs. 96% want more affordable housing. And 95% support increased funding for all public schools.
I mean, like these are it says here top election issues for Black voters. And this is a poll done by Northwestern University, which is in Illinois. I mean, like, what kind of issues are these? These are issues that are lift all boats, rise all tide issues. And these are the issues being demanded by Black people. Black people are going to ask for these issues. And then what's going to happen is they're going to get locked out, boxed out of those issues. And those issues are going to help other people. The Black community will be, if you guys agree with Val, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Exactly. When you look at this and you actually take a deep dive into it, you cannot say that the world isn't correct. Everything that we are looking at is in the place that it's supposed to be at and doing exactly what it's supposed to do. When you move like this, you are deteriorating your own political power and causing your own demise. And Lori Lightfoot is just the first step in that when it comes to Chicago. Next is the city hall. Next is the population. Lockout, box out. This is what Dr. Claude Anderson was talking about when he said Black people can't fight all these groups. I don't think when Dr. Claude Anderson said Black people can't fight all these groups, he realized that the other groups was going to be fighting like professional boxers and we was going to be fighting like we don't have no arms. Like, I don't think he realized it was going to be that bad, but that's what we're looking at.
Joining us to talk about what's at stake for Black Chicago in this year's elections are Twyla Blackman-Larnell, Associate Professor of Political Science at Loyola University Chicago, Jamal Ray, Youth Leader at Communities United, and Kendra Freeman, Vice President of Programs and Strategic Impact at Metropolitan Planning Council. Thanks to all three of you for joining us. Twyla, let's start with you, please. You've said that economic development is something on many Black voters' minds in this election season. Tell us what you think they'd like to see.
Well, economic development spans a wide variety of areas. This includes affordable housing. It includes access to jobs. It includes job training programs for young people and young adults.
None of this, she's not talking about property ownership. She's not talking about business ownership. She's not talking about real estate ownership. What her immediate angle where she came from is all of this is based on working for somebody, not maintaining and generating wealth, generational wealth and ownership of your neighborhood and place where you live at. No, that's not economic empowerment, man.
Election season. Tell us what you think they'd like to see.
Well, economic development spans a wide variety of areas. This includes affordable housing. It includes access to jobs. It includes job training programs for young people and young.
She's talking about vocation and living day to day. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my man, Q Hefner. Hey, I appreciate it, you guys. I'm sorry if I'm rushing through this. I would really actually like to take my time on this. You know what I'm saying? But it was kind of a last minute thing. And when I saw that Lori Lightfoot had conceded from the race, I just put up on the community tab. I was like, well, you know, if you guys want me to go and talk about this, we could have a little stream about it before the C19 stream. We can try to do that. and you guys responded. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to you guys. I really wish that I could do a longer stream, because if you ask me, this there's a lot to break down here. But if you're not subscribed to Blacklight Revelations news, reviews, and reactions, make sure that you guys go and subscribe to Blacklight Revelations news, reviews, and reactions. And the reason why I say that is because I'm going to be doing a stream called Old News, and that stream is actually going to go into detail a lot about the Chicago mayoral race, because I think that there's a lot of things that people need to see that people didn't really get a chance to check out. DJ Elmo says, what's the black population in Chicago? We're going to definitely get into that. So let me just see this real quick. This is a long hyperlink. I was going to try to share this. I was going to try to share this particular I was going to try to share this stream, but I don't think that I'm going to be able to, because the damn hyperlink is so damn big. You know what I'm saying? Hold on real quick. Yeah, let me see. Hold on. Do they got a share thing up here? Nope. Nope. Let me see. Hold on real quick. Let me see if it'll let me. Let me see. All right, so let me see. So if you're watching this on the replay, all of these articles that I referenced, they should all be in the chat. Let's hope that this goes in there. All right, there you go. I think it actually fit. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't smashed the like button, please make sure you guys smash that like button. Also, if you guys have not subscribed to the channel, make sure that you subscribe. And remember, don't move. Hang tight. After the stream ends, it'll take you right into the next stream, which will be on Blacklight Revelations C19 report. And we're going to be talking about some very interesting stuff on there as well. Okay. Now, this is an article here from March 1st of 2019. And you guys see what it says? Chicago will have black mayor despite its shrinking black population. So the question is, if Chicago's black population is trending down, what is the expectation of voting and how black people will be engaged with political issues? We're not only not turning out to vote, but we're literally running out of physical voters. You see what I'm saying? We're running out of physical voters in Chicago. You know what I mean? So now let me ask you guys the question here. What kind of impact does that have? What kind of impact does that have on the votes? That means that there's not as many possible votes for you to be able to provide to your intended candidate, right? And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we got 65 people watching. Shout out to everybody that's watching. And we got 58 votes. If everybody could take a moment, smash that like button, and also please share the video out, that would be awesome. Okay. So now here it says, on Tuesday, February 26th, former federal prosecutor Lori Lightfoot and Cook County Board Commissioner President Tori Peckwinkle were the top vote getters in Chicago's crowded mayoral race. Both women are African Americans, and no matter who wins the April 2nd runoff election, Chicago will have a black woman mayor for the first time in city's history, and its first elected black mayor since Harold Washington in 1983. Okay. Chicago has a unique distinction of having shed its overall population for 3 years in a row. Much of that loss was driven by a decline in the African-American population, which has dropped 24% since 2000. So now, again, let me ask you guys the question. Did we bum rush? Did we rip Lori Lightfoot out of office? Or is the population and the environment change indicative of the voting results, in addition to our own political issues that we have? That's the question. So now here it says, as much as there's been a shift of black people out of Chicago, there have been some intra-city shifts as well. Several neighborhoods in Chicago's north side, where most of the city's white population had historically lived, added black residents since 2010. These north side neighborhoods are where Lightfoot performed best in last week's mayoral election. Isn't it interesting how things change? Because that's the election that's the section that killed her in this election. Isn't that interesting how things change? Like Notorious B.I.G. said, things done changed. Meanwhile, African-American neighborhoods in the South Side and the West Side bled off black residents considerably this century. 125,000 black families were lost from these areas between 2000 and 2010 alone, writes Alden Laurie in Market Urbanism. There are neighborhoods where Lightfoot performed. These are the neighborhoods where Lightfoot performed the poorest. Preckwinkle performed much better throughout the South Side and came in second behind Lightfoot in many of Chicago's North Side wards. Neither Lightfoot nor Preckwinkle were the first choice of most black voters in this election. Of the 14 people who ran for mayor this cycle, 6 of them were African Americans, and of those, Willie Wilson, a millionaire entrepreneur and gospel recording artist, gathered the highest percentage of black votes. Now, I hate to say this because I'm going to sound nasty and condescending, but now why do you think that was? So the celebrity or the pseudo-celebrity or the semi-celebrity got the highest amount of votes. I'm going to read this again. Neither Lightfoot nor Preckwinkle were the first choice of most black voters in this election. Now, if you ask them why, what will they say? That's the question. Of the 14 people who ran for mayor this cycle, 6 of them were African Americans, and of those, Willie Wilson, a millionaire entrepreneur and gospel recording artist, garnered the highest percentage of black votes while picking up the 4th most overall. While Lightfoot and Preckwinkle may not have been most of black Chicago's preferred representatives, they were the 2 most popular candidates in almost half of the wider North. What does that say? What does that say? You know what I'm saying? Which means that despite the fact that Chicago is about to elect a black mayor for only the second time in history, black voters were not primarily responsible for it. I know, right, Deneen? Of course, his name is Willie Wilson. That's like, like Percy Earl. You know what I'm saying? That's a name like Percy Earl. You know what I'm saying? He probably had a running mate named Percy Earl. They probably sing some Motown on the commercial. Ladies and gentlemen, who, my name is Willie. Mr. Willie Wilson. Mr. Willie Wilson. You know what I'm saying? Lord have mercy. I don't know, man. I don't know. So this is what's important. Black voters were not primarily responsible for it, and it's as a result of the population matrix. Yeah, good trouble. The melodious sounds of Willie Wilson. Oh my goodness. I can only imagine. He gonna have you singing your way to the polls. You know what I'm saying? He gonna have you singing your way to the polls. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm gonna do is I hope that I've proved my point. I hope that I've proven, I should say, not proved. That's Percy Earl and Willie Wilson talk. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, didn't hear now, young bloods. I hope I done proved to y'all my points that I was trying to make here. I hope I've proven my point. You know what I'm saying? All right, I'm about to put this link in here for the population matrix. I don't blame you, Kelly. I get it. But now here's the question, though. While you're not voting, what's your plan? And I think that everybody should have a plan, whether you choose to vote or whether you choose not to. Because, like we know, things don't always go as planned. In most cases, they don't. So, when it comes to the Chicago mayoral race, when you Lightfoot around reality, you find out the hard way that the world is correct. So with that being said, don't move a muscle. It'll take you right into the next stream. It'll come on in about 60 seconds, and I will catch you all there. All right? Peace.